SafeZone with Michael Bryan. This is part 3 of 4 of our NFL preview. We got the AFC North, NFC North on our agenda for this part 3. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Again, like, subscribe, share, comment. First up, we got the NFC North. Yes, we're going to run with the NFC North real quick. The NFC North, it consists of the Packers, the Bears, the shit-eating Bears, the Lions, and the Vikings. So first up, let's jump into it. Let's start with the Lions. All right. So the Lions, man, the Lions Dan Campbell-led squad surprised a lot of people last year. They run off that winning streak at the end of the year, just fell short of the playoffs. The thing is, though, about the Lions is they had Jamal Williams last year who had 17 touchdowns. He was the majority of their offense, who now plays for the New Orleans Saints. So I feel like that's going to be a major blow. Granted, they did draft Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, so I'm sure they're hopeful with that. But I got the Lions losing to the Chiefs, beating Seattle, beating Atlanta, beating Green Bay, beating Carolina, beating Tampa Bay, losing to Baltimore, beating Vegas, losing to the Chargers, beating the shit-eating Bears, beating Green Bay, losing to New Orleans, losing to the shit-eating Bears, beating Denver, losing to the Vikings, beating the Cowboys, and beating the Vikings, finishing at 10-7. Which will win the division because that division is going to be shit. It's going to be garbage as fuck. And then we're going to jump to the Packers. The Packers now are led by Jordan Love, who had a pretty good preseason game. They're pretty hopeful for him. He hasn't had a big workload at all. I mean, small sample size of what we've seen out of him during the regular season due to the Aaron Rodgers. But as for the Packers, I got the Packers losing the first 2 games of the year to the Bears and the Falcons, beating New Orleans, losing to the Lions, losing to Vegas, losing to Denver, beating the Vikings, losing to the Rams, losing to Pittsburgh, beating the Chargers, losing to the Lions, beating Kansas City, losing to the Giants, beating Tampa Bay, losing to Carolina, losing to the Vikings, and beating the shit-eating Bears, and finishing at 6-11. I think that is totally sustainable for the Packers. It's going to be their first year without Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a down year. Then you got the shit-eating Bears. The shit-eating Bears led by Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus is mediocre defense. I mean, y'all hired this guy, man. He was the Colts defensive coordinator. We know what you get. You get a Gardner Minshew having damn near a perfect passer rating. That's what you get with a Matt Eberflus defense. So for the Bears, we got them beating the Packers. Oh, man. Wow, right? Got them beating the Packers, beating Tampa Bay, losing to the Chiefs, losing to Denver, losing to Washington, beating the Vikings, losing to Vegas, losing to the Chargers, losing to New Orleans, beating Carolina, losing to the Lions, losing to the Vikings, beating the Lions, losing to Cleveland, beating Arizona, beating Atlanta, and losing to Green Bay, finishing at 7-10, which is a big, big upgrade from last season when they were just complete and absolute garbage. I think they'll win more games this year. And then you got the Vikings, man. You got mediocre Kirk and their fucking skull-ass fan base. Let's check them out, man. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, they drafted some big receivers. I mean, we'll see what happens in Minnesota. I guess they're going to air it out, but you're putting all the game on Kirk Cousins' arm, man. You ain't even got Dalvin Cook no more. So you're going to put it all on Kurt's arm? Like, Kurt ain't that good. He really ain't. But I got the Vikings opening the season with a dub against Tampa Bay, a dub against Philly, a dub against the Chargers, a dub against Carolina, a dub against Kansas City. Losing to the shit-eating Bears, beating San Fran, losing to Green Bay, losing to Atlanta, beating New Orleans, losing to Denver, beating the shit-eating Bears, losing to Las Vegas, losing to Cincinnati, beating the Lions, beating Green Bay, and losing to the Lions, finishing at 10-7. 10-7 is what I see them going. Like I said, I got the Lions winning that division. And then let's move on to the AFC North. The AFC North consists of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, with the serial rapist as their starting quarterback, and the Ravens. So what's the most interesting squad on here? Probably, man, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting squads in this division. I guess all 4 of them is pretty interesting. Let's start with the serial rapist Browns. All right, so with the Browns, you got the serial rapist, Deshaun Watson, starting for them. He did not look good last year, but as of yesterday, after their second preseason game, he says he feels more like Deshaun Watson. I don't really know if that's a good thing. So we got the Browns starting the season off with a dub against Cincinnati, losing to Pittsburgh, beating Tennessee, losing to Baltimore, losing to San Fran, losing to the Colts, losing to Seattle, beating Arizona, losing to Baltimore, beating Pittsburgh, losing to Denver, losing to the Rams, beating Jacksonville, beating the shit-eating Bears, beating Houston, beating the Jets, and losing to Cincinnati, finishing at 8-9. I could totally see that one happening. Just right around that 500 marker, they're not going to make the playoffs. And then you got the Steelers, man. The Steelers, they're led by Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. I mean, it's a dynamic duo, bro. They're both young, and they both have a lot of talent. And they got Mike Tomlin as their coach, which you can never go wrong because he's one of the most winningest coaches in the NFL after never having a losing season. Like, you have bum-ass quarterbacks. You got Big Ben that goes down for half a season, and you still don't have a losing season. Granted, and then you got the Colts. You got teams like the Colts who can't figure it the fuck out because of guys like Chris Ballard. I'm not going to get there, though, right now. So then you got the Steelers, though. I got the Steelers losing to San Fran, beating Cleveland, beating Vegas, beating Houston, beating Baltimore, losing to the Rams, losing to the Jags, beating Tennessee, beating Green Bay, losing to Cleveland, losing to Cincinnati, beating Arizona, losing to the Patriots, beating the Colts, beating Cincinnati, losing to Seattle, and losing to Baltimore, finishing at 9-8, just above that 500 marker. And then we got the Ravens. The Ravens are a very interesting team led by Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, but they didn't really surround Lamar Jackson with anybody other than Odell Beckham Jr., who I believe is on the back end of his career. He had a great Super Bowl, but he is not that same guy. He's not a number one receiver, man. He's like your 3. He's your slot. So for the Ravens, I got them losing to Houston. Fuck no. Houston's going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I got them beating Houston, beating Cincinnati, beating Indianapolis, beating Cleveland, losing to Pittsburgh, losing to Tennessee, beating the Lions, beating Arizona, beating Seattle, beating Cleveland, losing to Cincinnati, losing to the Chargers, beating the Rams, losing to Jacksonville, losing to San Fran, beating Miami, beating Pittsburgh, finishing at 11-6, and probably grabbing up one of those wild card spots. And then you got the Bengals. The Bengals led by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Higbee. I mean, the Bengals are a squad to be reckoned with, bro. Like, they really are. Joe Burrow right now, he's getting his calf together. He went down in preseason camp, in training camp, and he's not playing the preseason. As of right now, he's out several weeks. I'm assuming he's going to be out the first week of the season. That's why I've had the Bengals losing the first week of the year to a very bad Browns team. So we got the Bengals losing to Cleveland to open the year, losing to Baltimore, beating the Rams, beating Tennessee, beating Arizona, beating Seattle, beating San Fran, beating Buffalo, beating Houston, beating Baltimore, beating Pittsburgh, beating Jacksonville, beating the Colts, beating the Vikings, losing to Pittsburgh, beating Kansas City, and beating Cleveland, finishing at 14-3. That's it for part 3 of our NFL preview. That was the NFC North, AFC North. Stick around for part 4, which is going to be the AFC South, NFC South, where we're going to jump into the Colts, y'all. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Peace.